just got done watching the fights. The kids are asleep. The wife's in the other room doing, well, what wives do.
Am I the only one that does a goddamn thing around here? How hard is it to pick up after a
So, decision time. You could either go in the other room and deal with...
After all I've done today, you expect me to wanna...
Or keep it locked right here, because it's time for the Billy C post-fight wrap-up on the BillyCBoxing.com network. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Billy C.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for Billy C's Andre Ward, Sergey Kovalev II post-fight show. In case you're just joining us, the fight just ended. And Andre Ward backed up what he said he was going to do. He knocked out Sergey Kovalev. The official time was 2 minutes and what was the official? 2 minutes and 29 seconds of the eighth round. Tony Weeks stopped the fight after Sergey Kovalev appeared to have been hurt by several body shots by Andre Ward. The Crusher, who said he was going to punish him and end his career, was talking a lot of smack for the last several weeks, did not live up to it. Could not back up the trash talk. Andre Ward looked, well, in my opinion, Andre Ward was losing the fight by a narrow margin on the scorecard, but he was picking up steam. There's no question about that. And he was getting stronger and stronger. Kovalev, once again, loses his stamina. I mean, he just this guy has no stamina. Loses his energy, I should say. But joining me right now from St. Simon's Island is my man Sal Rocky Cenicola. And Sal, what was your thoughts on the fight?
Billy, I'll tell you, I was watching that fight, and going into the eighth round, the final round, I did have Sergey Kovalev up 69-66. No, actually, I'm sorry, 67-66. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's what I had. Same score.
Yeah, same score. You and I do that a lot, Billy, don't we? And I'll tell you what, maybe we know something. But I'll tell you.
Not too much. He lost the fight. The score ended up meaning nothing.
And you know what? I had this eerie feeling. I saw the fight. I saw how he was throwing a lot of punches, and I questioned his stamina. And then I saw again. We see Andre Ward sustaining the blows and coming on, being durable like the ever-ready battery. And I could tell from the get-go that Sergey Kovalev does not like to get hit in the body. No one does, but I mean, it definitely caught him and hurt him a little bit. And that's ultimately what happened. I was a little surprised that they stopped it the way they did instead of counting out the fighter, especially in a body shot. I would have preferred to have gone to that level or that distance, but it was probably inevitable. You probably had between 30 and 40 seconds left in the round, and I don't know. We're not going to have a rubber match. There's no need.
No, I think there wasn't going to be
the last of the series.
There wasn't going to be a rubber match anyway. Ward basically said he was too good to have a rematch anyway. So, but the bottom line is Ward backed it up, and Sergey Kovalev did not. As far as the performance by both leading up to it, hey, listen, the end, in my opinion, the end shows me that Andre Ward did what he wanted to do. He lived up to his game plan, and Sergey Kovalev didn't. Sergey come close. He didn't even come close to really just attacking Andre Ward. And, he's saying Andre Ward's punches never hurt me in the first fight. Well, if they never hurt you, then you should have come out strong and just, showed no respect to Andre Ward. And he's clearly showed a lot of respect for Ward. And he gave Andre Ward time to really sink into his game plan. And the end, I think, speaks for itself, Sal.
You're 100% right, with an exclamation mark, Bill. I mean, Andre Ward fought his fight, and Sergey Kovalev had nothing to say about it. He went in there. Yes, he was out punching with the number of punches he was throwing. He landed some great jabs. I mean, they were definitely wide open jabs that he broke open some opportunities to land some good punches to follow. They just never followed. I think Max Kellerman or one of the guys was commenting about not having a left hook behind the combination. He actually threw one or two left hooks, but not enough. And he threw one or two punches at a time, not the combinations you'd hope to see. And if he did throw a combination, to Ward's credit, I mean, Ward got out of the way and rolled his head and avoided a lot of the 2, 3s, or 4s. But Andre Ward, I'll tell you what, he did what he set out to do. He fought his fight, and Kovalev did not. Kovalev fought Andre Ward's fight.
Well, I think, you said something I noticed myself in this fight. Andre Ward used some great head movement, maybe not so much side to side, but up and down. He moved his head enough to prevent Sergey Kovalev from connecting with any punches. And by the fourth round, it seemed like Sergey Kovalev lost all the steam behind his punches. It just was a terrible performance from a guy that said I was going to do this, I'm going to do that. I can't stand it. But just to get you guys caught up with some of the other fights, in a real controversial fight, Guillermo Rigondeaux, as of now, unless they've already changed it, improved to 18-0 with 12 knockouts over Moises Flores in a unification, sort of a unification bout. In case you missed it, the way the fight. Once again, we had Rigondeaux land a shot that knocked Flores out. To do, commissioner, whatever you want to call him, the executive, the big cheese, Bob Bennett from the Nevada State Athletic Commission, and was trying to decipher what they were going to do. And when the smoke cleared, they called the HBO truck, and after we were getting a replay on HBO time and time again and saw that the bell rang and then the punch went. You can argue whether he was in motion or whatever the case was, but we saw the replay 100 times, and 100 times you clearly see the bell ring first. And then Bob Bennett says, without any doubt, basically the bell rang after the punch. So we scored it a knockout. So when they were tippy-toeing on the thin ice, they said, well, if he hits after the bell, what are you going to do? He said, well, if we review it, it'll be an automatic disqualification. Funny thing is, Vic Draculich had said that if the punch came after the bell, he was going to rule it a no contest, which realistically it should be. My big question, and I don't even know if you got to see this one, Sal, but my big question is why the hell are they even asking the commentators what happened? I mean, what has happened to the Nevada State Athletic Commission? We'll be talking about it on our next show Tuesday morning.
Yeah,
but,
we sure will.
The Nevada State Athletic Commission has already approved a fight between a pro debut fighter and Floyd Mayweather. And Bob Bennett saying on this, well, our main concern is the health and safety of the fighters. I don't know. They're asking Jim Lampley, well, if the bell sounded, then we're going to reverse our decision. I think the Nevada State Athletic Commission looked like a bunch of fools. Sal, did you see this one?
I did not see that one, Billy. We got swamped tonight, and I was rushing home.
Okay, that's it. We can we don't have to talk about that. But we're going to take a break here in a second. But we got Luis Arias against Arif Magomedov. Roy Jones couldn't say it either. But Magomedov was the first fight in the night, and mismatch all the way. Magomedov looked like he shouldn't even be a pro anymore. Luis Arias beat him decisively, wins via a TKO, 1 minute 16 seconds of the fifth round, to improve to 18-0 with 9 knockouts. Magomedov drops to 18-2. And a fighter that we were talking about early, I guess not last week, the week before, Dmitry Bivol in the light heavyweight division, a guy that I believe Daxx Khan, who's going to be coming on here in a minute, said that he thinks he's going to take over the light heavyweight division in the future, made quick work of Cedric Agnew. Russell Mora, the referee in that fight, decided to stop it in the fourth round at 1 minute and 27 seconds because of Agnew's failure to even fight. 11-0, 9 knockouts now for Dmitry Bivol. And that pretty much wraps up what I think was a piss-poor card, to be honest with you. I mean, the main event was good, but I think that the card was 100% mismatches. I know you didn't get to see it, Sal, but at least the main event wasn't bad, but there was nothing else to accompany it.
And that's a shame, because you would think, you want to have a solid, good card, good competitive fights, and good notoriety for the fighters that could go on and climb the ladder and continue their reign. Hey, Billy, you and I got to get into the matchmaking and promoting these fighters, maybe. We should start our own company.
Right. Well, got to pull the trigger. But listen, the bottom line is we're going to get Daxx Khan on here in a minute, and then maybe we'll open up the phone lines. But I'm going to get Dax and Sal here on together. So why don't you guys hang tight for 1 second. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll have Daxx Khan join us to give us his thoughts on Andre Ward stopping Sergey Kovalev in this one. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
Billy C will be right back.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks. Like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands. Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks. Like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free.
If you or a loved one have had hernia repair surgery with mesh reinforcement and suffered infection, chronic pain, mesh migration, mesh failure, organ damage, or needed additional surgery, call the Rely On Group right now. You may be eligible to receive a cash award and compensation for your medical expenses. Your voice deserves to be heard. Call the Rely On Group to be connected with a personal injury attorney for a free consultation. Call 800-715-4869. That's 800-715-4869.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Exercise year-round against a smooth current set to your desired pace and temperature. With our new underwater treadmill, you can walk or run without stressing your joints. Endless pools are simple to install and even simpler to maintain. The water stays crystal clear with almost no chlorine. Call for your free idea kit and experience the freedom of swimming at home.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you!
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening and watching Billy C's Andre Ward, Sergey Kovalev rematch post-fight show. Glad you could be with us. And joining me right now, and Sal, Rocky Cenicola, joining us both. All three of us, is my man Daxx Khan. Hey, Dax, what'd you think of the fight?
I thought it was a decent fight. I actually had it at the time of the stoppage. I had it a draw. But, I thought it was, things could have been changed, could have been a little better, and it's understanding why that they, it wasn't that, not a lot of people paid attention to it.
Not a lot of what? Not a lot of people paid attention.
Not a lot. If you look, the venue was pretty much empty. It was a very empty venue. There wasn't, they couldn't even really actually bring the cameras to make the venue look full. And I know that they tried to put people on one side, which is an old trick. Leading up to the fight, there wasn't a lot of inspiration towards it. You even said yourself last week or the week before the vacation, how not a lot of people were paying attention. It wasn't until maybe Thursday that social media started buzzing about it.
Let's make no mistake. Andre Ward can't draw flies to a garbage convention. He can't. I know he doesn't think that, but that's the truth. He can't sell out arenas in his hometown of Oakland or wherever he's from. So that doesn't surprise me. What does surprise me, the first fight was pretty good. It was controversial. I would have thought they would have did a little better. But as far as the fight at the time of the stoppage, Sal and I both had the same score, 67-66 in favor of Kovalev. But it doesn't matter, Dax, because Kovalev talked a lot of smack leading up to this fight, and he didn't back any of it up. I mean, he started out saying, he said Ward didn't hurt him, but yet he didn't go in and attack him. That was what he had to do to win. The longer that fight went on, the less chances Kovalev had to win. And to tell you the truth, I did not think that Andre Ward would stop him like he and the most overrated trainer in the world, Virgil Hunter, said. But they backed it up. So credit's got to be given. I mean, end of story, right?
Well, you have to give credit. As Sal and I were speaking during the break, a win is a win. You can get the win, and fight another day. But, there was a lot of things that Tony Weeks should have addressed, and he didn't. And Roy Jones Jr. sitting on the sidelines going, but if that was Roy Jones Jr., I'd have been kicked out of the sport for every little thing. But then when it came to these shots below the belt, and even on the belt line, if something comes on the belt line after you're already a little drained, that little area right there, that can cause some sensitivity. Now, did Kovalev at one point in time look to say, maybe, I need a little break? Yeah, I think he might have. But something, by that point in time, how many times did Andre Ward wrestle? Andre Ward, you know how I love to break down the fights, and I love to count every little thing that I see, no matter who does it. Andre Ward hit Kovalev behind the head 11 times, and he got away with 14 low blows. And out of those 14, 5 of them were on the belt line. He got away with it. He got the win. That's fine. But you know what? Call it how it is. He got a win in a dirty fight. Bernard Hopkins was a guy who never got a break for doing such things. They would have been all over him, but it's okay for Andre Ward too. Why? Because when you look at the whole night and you look at the lead up to it, everything was about Andre Ward. It was all kinds of excuses. They changed their stories around. I've never in any time
alternative to traditional pools.
Any promotion ever, even ones that I watched on tape before I was born, a ring announcer before every single thing they talk about has to name 15 different sponsors. That's what Rock Nation needs. That's what they do in media press conferences when who are you selling it to? Nobody here is going to buy anything. We're with the media. And they needed Andre Ward to win. If Andre Ward didn't win tonight, Rock Nation was going to be done. Michael Yarnak, let me tell you something. That guy is a prime. Why? The same thing, no matter what boxing. But Dax, you got 2 pound-for-pound greats going on. No, this is what you really had tonight. You had, yes, 2 of the pound-for-pound best fighters in the sport, but they want Sergey Kovalev to have that belt back because Main Events has a few other top 10 contenders they want to keep that title. Andre Ward, as we all know, he loves to sit on things. Andre Ward's not going to defend that title another 10 months. He's not going to defend that title in a year. I promise you, like I said to you the last time on the show, the next time that the rankings come around, as soon as Andre Ward steps up against somebody besides maybe a Marcus Brown or somebody of that caliber who looks good on paper, he's going to lose. That kid tonight, Dimitri Bivol, Andre Ward's not going to beat him. Everybody's going to be on social media tweeting and cursing and yelling and calling me names. Sergey Kovalev wouldn't have beat him. They're not going to beat Artur Beterbiev. They're not going to beat the nail Alexander Usyk. And I'll tell you what, he's even more dangerous than Artur Beterbiev, who they're avoiding. This is what's wrong with the sport, and what we had here tonight. I was disgusted by the fact they've never even addressed it. Tony Weeks never said stop. They never said nothing. This is truly what you see in the sport when a promoter needs something to stay in business. The fight wasn't fixed. That's not what I'm saying. Ward did win the fight. He stopped Kovalev, but you know something? It just wasn't right down the alley. It wasn't right. The Rigondeaux fight, they did the right thing.
Well, I'll get to that in a second. But Sal, I wanted to ask you a question.
Yes.
You got to see the ring walks and all of that?
Yes, I saw them walk into the ring.
Okay.
That's what you mean, yeah.
Did you see when Andre Ward stepped into the ring and when he went over and fist pumped Tony Weeks?
I caught that. I wasn't paying attention, but I did observe it, and I didn't think too much of it then.
Why would
But I'm thinking back at it now.
Yeah, okay. Now you said he said, wait a minute.
Now
everything Daxx just said, everything
like,
Daxx just said.
Was that a message? I know you got my back or my,
I don't know.
my belt.
I don't know.
I know.
That's the way it looked.
Like
and I agree. Rock Nation is in some trouble. They don't know how to do an event. They don't have any fighters. I think that the card, to be honest with you, I thought the card was terrible. In terms of quality matchups. I mean, fights ended early. How many times? What were they going to do? Show us the whole first Ward Kovalev fight? I mean, they had so much extra time.
That.
And then when after all the preliminaries were over, they showed the dressing room shots of Kovalev and Ward, and neither one of them had their gloves on. I looked at that and went, "Oh, geez, it's going to be another 20 minutes before this fight even starts." But Dax, you started to mention the Rigondeaux fight, and you said they did the right thing. Now, did they change their mind? Because, first of all, and like I said in the opening, Vic Draculich looked like a complete imbecile by not making a decisive decision. Had to wait for Bob Bennett. Okay, so maybe that's the protocol. Maybe he had to wait for the executive director of the Nevada State Athletic Commission. But then he's talking, and somebody whispers in his ears that he's on a live mic. So he covers up his mic, which we still heard some of the stuff he was saying. And he ends up saying that he was going to call it a no contest. And Bob Bennett says, "Are you sure? If he hit after the bell, it's a DQ, right? Right away, it's a DQ." And here we go with the hitting after the bell disqualification. This is the first round. This wasn't like, and like Max Kellerman made a great point, they were in an exchange. It wasn't like it was just him, So then he says that whole fiasco with the truck and blah, blah, blah. They end up giving Rigondeaux a knockout win, but he said if they go back and review the tape and hear the bell before the punch, which is pretty obvious, we saw it 100 times, that they're going to change it to a DQ. Has it been updated yet, or is it still going in the books as a knockout for Rigondeaux?
It's going in the books as a knockout for Rigondeaux, as it fairly should have. When you watch that fight and you see, the only thing that Rigondeaux did he wasn't supposed to, and where the real foul came in was before that last exchange when he held him behind the head and he landed 3 or 4 clean uppercuts. If anything, that would have been where you stepped in and made some sort of judgment call. But as far as with that last exchange, Flores, came across with a left, and Rigondeaux kind of came back, and then he landed his own left, and that's what ended the night. But if anything, according to the way the state rules are, if anything, because it was under the 4th round, it should have been to a no contest, and simple as that. The fact that, I myself was very critical on social media saying, something, what is this, the NFL? Now all of a sudden, like you stated, Vic Draculich can't make his own call. Why is he over there talking to Robert Byrd? But right now, Nevada State Athletic Commission is underneath a lot of pressure, not only due to the fact that they sanctioned Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor, but also because they have a standard they have to set if they want to remain the premier city in sport. And after what happened a few weeks ago, or maybe a month ago, whichever that was, between Jose Uzacati and Andre Durrell, with that shenanigans that happened, where they should have maybe looked into that. So maybe Vegas is trying to sit there and say, you know what, we got to set some sort of precedent. What did make them sound ignorant is the fact that Harold Letterman has to read out of a book and tell them what they already know. And then the commissioner himself is going, oh, well, I don't know if I'm going to change that or not. I'm going to have to look back on that. And the pitiful and disgusting display by HBO as if they're trying to convince him to sit there and overturn that right then and there. The only thing that I have to say about that fight is Rigondeaux, as much, he's a hard luck guy. For all the skill he has, we know this much, and that is he has a hard time getting fights. And when you have somebody like that say, I will relinquish my belt if whoever fights for that title will promise that I get the winner of that and I'm mandatory. That tells you how bad this man needs fight. And what's that tell you about his promoter, and what's that tell you on exactly what kind of position they're in and how desperately they needed that guy to win tonight?
Nevada State Athletic Commission looks like a bunch of bozo to clowns, a whole group of them. Because for them to ask Jim Lampley and basically follow commentators, Max Kellerman and Jim Lampley, Bob Bennett is thanking them for straightening them out. Pitiful is an understatement, for them not to take control. And when he said our main concern is the health and safety of the fighters, and then like you mentioned, which we'll talk about on our next show, the Nevada State Athletic Commission sanctioning the fight between Mayweather and Conor McGregor as a real fight, as counting as the 50th win, which you might as well give him the 50th win now, is absurd. How is that safe? They're not looking out for the safety of Conor McGregor, a pro debut. I don't care how many fights, I don't care how many titles, how many weight classes he fought in MMA. That's not boxing. I'm sorry. So I think the Nevada State Athletic Commission looks like a bunch of clowns. What do you think, Sal?
Oh, 100%, Bill. We saw that. It's so funny. I couldn't help but think. I saw on a clip today. It might have been a clip on Facebook they had out there. Conor McGregor was sparring a boxer, a fighter, who was nobody really known, and but somebody that was trying to emulate Floyd Mayweather's style. And the guy was tagging Conor McGregor with jab after combo. And let me tell you something. If this fight is done exclusively with the Marcus of Queensberry's rules and everything else, this guy's not going to see midway fight. Midway through the fight, it's going to be disgusting. It's going to be atrocious. It's going to be no pun intended, a black guy on boxing. Listen, and it already is, with the commissioner approving a fighter, a MMA fighter that's never had a professional boxing match under his belt, is now fighting one of the world's self-proclaimed greatest fighter ever in the history of boxing. Forget about it.
Listen, it's not going to be a fight. It's not going to be worth the money.
We'll
be talking about that.
I don't even want to see it, Bill. I'm sorry to talk over you. I'm so upset about it.
Well, we'll have plenty of time to talk about that. But as far as because it is sickening. It is sickening.
It really is.
Nevada looks like a bunch of fools. But hey, Dax, you stated that you think that Dimitri Bivol could beat Andre Ward right now. Is that what you said?
No, what I'm saying is that as Andre Ward holds on to these titles, a lot of people don't want to admit the last time Andre Ward has done anything really special was the Super 6, which is a long time ago. Scratch out, the Chad Dawson fight right after then. And you know what? Andre Ward had this layoff. Irregardless of how good he is, you know something? He's aging. These other guys are getting better. Andre Ward becomes more full of himself. These guys are staying hungry. As a guy like a Bivol or a guy like an Alexander Usyk just continues to get better, or a guy like an Umar Smolov gets better, what happens is Andre Ward eventually is going to have to face them, or what he's going to have to do is he's going to end up dropping these titles. Either way, it hurts the division. But you know something, as these guys do get better, these guys are not Kovalev. These guys can punch. These guys can box. If you've seen Bivol tonight, Bivol would have beat Kovalev tonight, and that's no knock on Sergey Kovalev. These are not the Eastern European fighters that people are used to. These are not even the Triple Gs. These are not even, guys like that. These are better. They're younger. They're more skilled. They have different types of trainers, and these are the guys that within another year or two, as they round their skill set out, they're almost going to be They're going to be something that this country's never seen. And in order to remain big draws here or in Canada where GYM has their fighters, these guys are going to be almost forced back over to Europe because they're not going to be able to stand over here and get the opportunities they want. Same thing like a Rigondeaux. What they're going to do is these guys are trying to wait Guillermo Rigondeaux out. And that, unfortunately, is the politics of boxing. But you know something? As far as tonight's card goes, I think Dimitri Bivol, he could have stopped Cedric Agnew at any point in time he wanted to. I think he was putting on display. He was letting people know exactly what he had. Luis Arias, you know something? I really like this kid. I can't wait to see more of him. Arif Magomedov, I think he should never have went to the Ruslan Provakanov School of Defense. Arias, as he gets better, he's going to move up in weight, and there's something else in the future to look at. You know, we've had a lot of good things in this fight tonight, and we've had a lot of bad things. The only thing I can say is the sooner Rock Nation is out of this sport, the better off they are. What they need to do is they need to get 50 Cent, and they need to go back into the record business full-time.
Maybe they should. And by the way, that the singer that did the national anthem wasn't even that good. But anyway.
No. Every fighter in the last couple of years, every fighter in the last 5 or 6 years that has went with one of these music companies or one of these rap stars thinking that they're going to get something, where's their career ended them? Look now where Yuriorkis Gamboa, you know, he used to be a favorite fighter of mine, but, you know, they destroyed him so much I can't remember. It's boxing people belong in boxing.
I got one last question for you, Dax. As far as the Bivol fight, what was up with Cedric Agnew? It's like he didn't even want to fight.
When you look at Bivol, look at his style. That's the fourth time I've seen him fight. And I've seen footage of his amateur fights. But, you know, you've seen the maturity on him for a guy with that many fights. That's what I'm talking about, that different style of Eastern European fighter. You know, Lomachenko, who's a lot better than him. But, you know, again, there's a guy with so little fights and so mature. Bivol, he didn't sit there and get lured in there. He just tap. He waited for Agnew to open up, and he busted him up. You get hit by a guy like that, you don't want to fire back. And, you know, Bivol is that type of guy. And Agnew, he's a decent fighter, but he's an opponent-type fighter. I remember when Samuel Clarkson and Agnew fought, I was right on the apron. That was the same day that Pacquiao and Mayweather was announced, and Agnew had one moment of success. He knocked Clarkson down for a second, and then Clarkson dominated him, and look exactly what Bivol did to Clarkson. So what's that tell you?
Oh, I know. I think Agnew should hang him up. But Dax, I appreciate you coming on, and we'll look forward to you on Tuesday.
All right, everybody, enjoy the night.
Dax, take care, buddy. Good job.
All right.
That's Daxx Khan, and he's giving us his thoughts. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to have Alex Pierpaoli join us, and then I think I'm going to open up the phone line, Sal. And unfortunately, we'll take one caller at a time, and then we'll go back to you. So take a break, Sal, and we'll be back with you in a couple of minutes, my man.
I'll take a break, pal. I'll see you in a minute.
All right, that's Sal Rocky Cenicola. We're going to get Alex Pierpaoli on the line, and we're going to take a short break right here. So then we're going to open up the phone lines, but don't try to call in until after I tell you that we're doing the phone lines. All right, boys and girls. Don't try and call in until after I say. Hey, I'll be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back. Part of the Billy C Boxing Network.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Exercise year-round against a smooth current set to your desired pace and temperature. With our new underwater treadmill, you can walk or run without stressing your joints. Endless pools are simple to install and even simpler to maintain. The water stays crystal clear with almost no chlorine. Call for your free idea kit and experience the freedom of swimming at home.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks. Like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Exercise year-round against a smooth current set to your desired pace and temperature. With our new underwater treadmill, you can walk or run without stressing your joints. Endless pools are simple to install and even simpler to maintain. The water stays crystal clear with almost no chlorine. Call for your free idea kit and experience the freedom of swimming at home.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching Billy C's Andre Ward Sergey Kovalev rematch post-fight show. Glad you could join us. In case you missed it, Andre Ward stopped Sergey Kovalev in this one, just like he said he would. And you got to give him credit. You know, he backed up what he said. Unlike Sergey Kovalev, who talked a lot of smack leading up to this fight. Right up until fight night, he was still talking smack and did not live up to any of it. Didn't back it up, ran out of gas again, and they referred to him. I saw some stuff in the preliminaries, and they were talking about him being a bully. That's what bullies do. They make excuses, blah, 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 and I was kind of chuckling to myself, and then I saw how the fight ended, and I got to agree with them. Joining me right now is my man, Alex Pierpaoli. What'd you think, brother?
Hello, Billy. I thought it was a good fight. I thought it was meaner and nastier than the first one, and I thought we kind of expected that. I thought Harold Lederman, and unfortunately I think this happens a lot, I thought Harold Lederman was way, way off. I thought that a lot of the rounds that he was just easily giving to Kovalev because Kovalev was pressing the action and was coming forward. I thought that some of them, Andre Ward, maybe they were close enough, or at least they should have looked closer to him, because what was happening in almost every round is Ward was landing short, mean, scoring punches that were it was very clear. You could see in Kovalev's style and the way he was changing his attack that he was surprised that Ward was hitting him as hard and as often as early. He didn't. It was like he did say that at one point. I think at the weigh-in yesterday that he was going to pick up like it was round 13, and he did. I think right away he was landing mean punches every round, and even some of the rounds where Harold, I was right that Kovalev did deserve the round, but I only gave him 2. I think that Ward still landed hard punches that a lot of times it was when Kovalev was coming forward. So it was almost like Ward would sneak a shot in there and use Kovalev's own momentum against him. All that being said, I do think we had a way too quick of a stoppage. Why not call a knockdown when Kovalev sort of folded himself in half and like went all submissive like that? Call it a knockdown. Give him 8 seconds. Then let the fight continue. See what happens. I mean, people paid good money for this. If it was over, we would have known right away, and you stop it. But I don't know. I thought it was a little disappointing, especially when you look at the replay. It does look like 2 of those shots were low blows. But there's no doubt he was in a lot of trouble, and at first he did not complain.
I agree. He didn't complain. First of all, I disagree. I mean, that's why boxing is subjective. I had Kovalev up by a point, 67-66 at the time of the stoppage. A lot of Harold's scoring was similar to mine. And what I saw was the same fight as we saw in the first one. You know, I saw Kovalev pretty much the difference is he was winning the earlier rounds in the first fight more decisively, but I thought he was squeaking out the rounds, but I saw him fade just as quickly. And I also saw Andre Ward picking it up and shifting into another gear. And then, Kovalev fell apart. But you make a great point about the referee, Tony Weeks. He did do a decent job breaking them up when they were holding. When they were punching, he seemed to let them fight. So I was impressed with that. When he started breaking them up real quick, I was like, oh, God, there's going to be, no infighting. But he did break them up when they kind of were holding each other. And I think that should have favored Kovalev. Unfortunately for him, he didn't take advantage of it. But I do agree with you about the stoppage. You could argue that the ropes were keeping Kovalev up, and he could have gotten an 8, get the 8 count and then continue. But the main thing is what you said after that, Alex. He didn't argue. As a matter of fact, he didn't argue at all. And it's going to be interesting to see now when he goes back and sees the low blows, or they were on the belt. But if he goes back and sees them, if he's going to start complaining and bitching and moaning like he was leading up to the fight, crying foul. I mean, at this point, he needs to listen. I got to be equally critical. He's got to shut up. Really, I mean, he had his chance and he didn't fill it in. I don't know what else to say, man. I mean, what do you think?
Well, I do think that I think this happens whenever guys make a lot of promises and make a lot of, they write checks that maybe their ass can't cash. Things look bad that next day, especially when you get stopped. But I don't think he said anything went so far out on a limb that you can't excuse it as most fighters just being very supremely confident. But I do think that I don't know. One of the things he said to Max in that little pre-fight interview, because in terms of the whole program, it was not tip top. That is
terrible.
For sure.
Terrible card. It was a terrible card.
Yeah, the card was lousy. The mass confusion after the Rigondeaux fight, which to me, I disagree with Dax. I think if you're going to call the Uzcategui versus Andre Durrell fight a DQ, then that has to be a DQ. We got to be consistent between the two of them.
But wait a minute.
It's just as blatant a late hit.
I know, but the difference with and I listen. I didn't like the call for the Jose I just call him Jose U because I murdered a poor guy's name. I didn't agree with that DQ, but he had been being warned for hitting after the bell in that fight. He did it 2 times before. So if either one of them were going to get a DQ, at least he did it before. There's some justification there. In the Rigondeaux fight, it was the first round, and they were going back at it, and it was an exchange. If anything, if they do change the ruling, no contest is what falls into what I think they should do. But I think that the Nevada State Athletic Commission is losing their mind, Alex. I mean, they lost control in the Jose U fight. They lost control in the Flores Rigondeaux fight. And then we'll talk about the Mayweather-McGregor fight being sanctioned as a real fight. I mean, and then he had the nerve to turn around and say, hey, our main concern is the fighter's safety. I mean, they contradict each other themselves. And then, to top it all off, he's confiding in Jim Lampley about helping him make the decision. I mean, they look pathetic, Alex. Your thoughts?
Yeah, there was a lot of those face palm type moments during that whole massive indecision from Draculich, which at first we can hear on his mic. And then, there's somebody who comes up to him and says, you might as well cover up the microphone.
Yeah. Like the naked. It was like Leslie Nielsen in the Naked Gun movies in the bathroom, right?
Right. It was like he's in the lab.
Oh, God.
The restroom.
God. That's funny.
Yeah, it was, I don't know, and the early blowouts. And I don't know if you saw the fights on YouTube, but it was the same situation. They were... mismatches, mostly Vaughn Alexander and Tremaine Williams, who was somebody I was looking forward to see fight. He's from New Haven. They scored early knockouts. So, yeah, it was not the greatest card. The ending is a little dissatisfying. To me, it was definitive, though, because I think the body work of Andre Ward took a hell of a lot of the fight out of Kovalev. It was very effective last time. It was even meaner and nastier this time. To me, I do think we did see a fight that clearly shows Andre Ward as the number one pound-for-pound fighter. That said, I do think that it was a bit of a quick stoppage, but, Kovalev didn't respond. And when you fold yourself up and go submissive like that, from your amateur days, the fight's over. So it wasn't too surprising. I think he should have called it a knockdown, just because, this is prize fighting at the elite level.
Did you happen to catch the fist pump from Andre Ward to Tony Weeks in the beginning?
No, I didn't see that, but I'm definitely going to rewind and check that out. That is a little weird.
Yeah. I mean, I noticed that, and I jotted it down. I'm like, what's up with that? And Tony Weeks, I will say this, he seemed a little...
You described the fist
bump. Well, maybe it wasn't quite a fist bump, but...
Was it tender and loving?
Well, it was like Ward went by him and kind of like tapped him on the chest, and Tony Weeks was a little surprised, I told you not to do this in front of everybody. I didn't cash the check yet. It was like, but I don't know. So
you're saying a fist bump was maybe a wink and a nod.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was more of a wink and a nod. Yeah, exactly. I don't know if he said, just stop it after the sixth. I don't know, but it was strange.
And I think maybe it was Roy or maybe it was Max. And I think, one of my favorite fighters, Marvelous Marvin Hagler. I mean, if you go back to the Tommy Hearns fight, Marvin gets warned for some pretty nasty low blows in that fight. It was a rough fight, and Ward does have some, dirty tactics. I mean, he's an infighter. Some of them, I think, were blatantly low. But I think the other thing, and I think it was Roy who made the point, is one thing that you see sometimes from a guy who's getting killed to the body is to start whining about low blows.
Roy.
So maybe that was happening too.
Listen, yes. Let me answer that question, and I'll say yes. But Roy Jones Jr., it's time. Roy, it's time to go do something else, because when he started saying, hey, when you're throwing uppercuts, there's only a couple of us that can actually knock you out with it. I'm like, oh, come on, Roy. Would you stop it with the BS? He was sickening. Sickening.
And at one point, when he was saying that, it was in the first fight, I think, it seemed he was taking credit for the death of Stefan Johnson, who died after a fight in Atlantic City against Paul Vaden. Earlier in his career, Roy had knocked him out, and apparently with an uppercut. Roy remembers that uppercut. But the way he said it, it was almost as if taking that uppercut and him dying in the ring were connected somehow. It was a really weird moment. I tweeted something about it.
Yeah, he was acting strange. He was saying some crazy stuff, and not only that, but he seemed off And then this whole Roy Jones Jr. would have got suspended for that, and I'm like, well, he never was. I mean, he always got the benefit of the doubt. So I don't know where all of this, you can't keep, they're keeping Roy Jones. Y'all must have forgot. I thought he was going to start singing again. I don't know, but between that and it was you got to give it a thumbs down. I mean, the event was bad. Rock Nation. They lost Miguel Cotto. All they got left is Andre Ward. He's a diva. If I'm Rock Nation, maybe it's time to hang up the gloves. And Dax is right. That guy, whatever his name is, Yeoman or whatever, he's a clown.
It's awful.
Oh,
yeah, I mean, that's the unfortunate thing that I think it does sort of put us in that position. One, I love knockouts. So I feel we definitely saw a definitive finish. And I like the way Ward looked. I do think he's pound for pound the best. However, just like in the age of Mayweather, he has very little charisma. He's downright unlikable. He's certainly not as douche-tastic as Floyd Mayweather is. He's just a different kind of arrogant.
Yeah, but wait a minute.
He's not exactly fun to listen to or anything, but I do think he is a hell of a fighter. I'm looking forward to watching this again, but I think Rock Nation is just a kind of a sleazy operation. Yeah, I don't like their head guy there, Michael Yarmick, or what his name is at all. So it does seem like they're another one of these sort of scorched earth promoters. I read an article in Forbes, believe it or not, that was praising them for all these, sort of new ideas. To me, it just was lots and lots of writing on the ring. And one of their sponsors was Jetlux. It's like luxury private planes. Who could afford that? That's
Jay-Z
sponsor.
Jay-Z and Beyonce. It's their.
Yeah.
Hey, the whole thing with them is that they, I like the black ring, but they're just bad. They don't have good fighters. And as far as the comparison with Floyd and Andre Ward in terms of personalities, they're both unlikable. But the big difference between Floyd and Andre Ward, I mean, you can make a case for Andre Ward when he fought in the Super 6. He's fought the better opposition than Floyd, even though Floyd has more fights under his belt. But the huge difference is that Floyd, whether you like him or not, he draws. The numbers prove that. I'm not a Floyd fan. Everybody that knows me knows that. But he draws. Andre Ward doesn't. He can't sell out in his own town. He's a very unlikable guy, even though he's supposed to be a good guy. I mean, he wears the white cowboy hat, Floyd wears the black cowboy hat, and Floyd sells 100 times more than him. So it's hard to put your finger on it. But you're right. They're both not likable guys. They're not like Anthony Joshua or Triple G or even Canelo, where there's people like them. They have a strong base because they're liked. They don't sell things because people are wanting to see them get carried out on a stretcher, So
absolutely, yeah. If you use the sort of political, the old Karl Rove, who would you want to have a beer with? Sergey Kovalev or Andre Ward? It would certainly not be Andre Ward.
Although I met him in Vegas, and right after he got a knockout over Chad Dawson. And we were at the same event. He was going. I was heading towards the arena. He was coming back from an interview up at the ESPN booth, and we chatted for a little bit. And he was very accommodating. He talked. He stopped, and I told him I predicted him knocking out Chad, and he was nice. But he seems fake to me. But in any event, he got it done tonight. So, Yeah,
that was another thing. At one point, I think they were saying that he's not a knockout puncher or something like that. And I remember that. I mean, one of his more definitive wins is the knockout of Chad Dawson. He also, to me, one of the things that to me gives him massive credit is the win over Carl Froch, a guy I highly respected. So I have no problem looking at him as the number one pound for pound guy.
As the whole in the Super 6, which was 6 years ago, I mean, you can't deny that he fought the best opposition. But Alex,
wow, it was that long ago? Jeez.
Yeah, I know. Tell me about it. I appreciate you coming on, and we'll look forward to you this week, especially since we'll have plenty of time to bash the Nevada State Athletic Commission some more concerning the Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor approval, not just for the fight, which I don't have a problem with, but counting it as Floyd's 50th win. And you might as well just give him the win now because it's not going to be a competitive fight. And I can't believe some comments from Dana White suggesting that that Oscar De La Hoya is just a hater because everyone should buy this fight. And I'm saying to myself, come on, you're the guy trying to make the money. I would recommend people not to buy it. It's going to be anticlimactic, and it's a scam. That's all it is a scam.
Well, I tell you, the news also that we heard this week is that, they should put this on the undercard, is Michael Phelps is going to race a great white shark.
I liked what you said. Cover him with chum and put him in.
With chum.
Have him wear one of those meat suits, and then have him swim. He'll be swimming a little faster.
What was that, Lady Gaga's dress?
Yeah. Alex, I appreciate it, and we'll look forward to you this week, my man. All right, take care. That's Alex Pierpaoli, and giving us. He's starting a line, I think, on the Michael Phelps versus the Shark race, so that ought to be interesting. But anyway, see, this is why boxing is subjective. Alex felt that Andre Ward was winning the fight at the time of the stoppage, and thought he was putting on a good show, and rightfully so. I mean, listen, I'm very critical of fighters that pound their chest and say this and that. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And listen, let's be real. Sergey Kovalev was doing every bit of that over the last couple of months. Said that, he's going to end his career. I'm going to end his career, he said, in terms of Andre Ward, and didn't do it. Didn't come close to ending Andre Ward's career tonight. As a matter of fact, I was expecting him to start out a lot faster with no respect, and he didn't. He started out with lots of respect, although me and my man Sal, who's with me right now, Sal, you and I both had Kovalev up by a point, but he did not fight the way he said he was going to.
No, he did not. He did not fight the way he said he was going to fight. And, it's so funny. I got to give all the credit to Andre Ward. He did what he had to do to win the fight in a dominant fashion. And no ifs, ands, and buts. The guy was smart. And I told you last week when you were up here, well, it was actually this week. And
down there, too. I was down there. I'm up. You're down. You're in the south. I'm in the north.
You came down here.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'll tell you what.
I'm up here now.
In my heart of hearts, I wanted Sergey Kovalev to win this fight, and I thought he really could. But my head kept saying that Andre Ward was a smarter fighter. I even said that to you. And I think that Andre Ward is going to fight the kind of fight he has to fight to win. And he did just that, Bill. The guy did exactly what a win's a win. He fought the fight he had to fight. He was tough. He was dirty. He was bullying where he had to do it inside. And you know what? Kovalev didn't have a chance on this level. Even though he was throwing some magnificent jabs and he landed some decent shots, he was too far away at some points. And whenever they got in close, a big lanky guy like Kovalev can't punch inside close when he's being tied up by Andre Ward or any other fighter. And Andre Ward just did that. He nullified the power from Kovalev by tying him up on the inside so he couldn't get those punches off with a good distance. And he was too far away on the outside where he couldn't let that right hand land. He fell short a couple times because he was out of the range.
Yeah, well, Andre Ward, he's a better boxer. I mean, there's no question. And Andre Ward also showed that his punches are accurate, and he mixed it up. He kept Sergey Kovalev off guard. Andre Ward had a full arsenal of punches. He was mixing in everything. Body, head, side body shots, down the middle, below the belt shots. Oh, that's right. He did land a couple of those.
Hey,
but I mean, he was counter punching well. Sergey Kovalev basically. He's got tonight he had a really snappy, hard jab like he did in the first fight.
Great jab. Yes,
but he wasn't following it though, Sal. And when he did let his right hand go, they weren't accurate. The head movement by Andre Ward, the subtle head movement, the slight head movement by Andre Ward gave Kovalev all kinds of trouble. And once again, trainers are always saying, well, we got to do this and we got to do that. And then at the end of the fight, they go, well, he didn't do this. Well, listen, John David Jackson, I love the guy. I've dealt with him a couple of times. He's one of the nicest guys you ever want to meet, knowledgeable. I think he's one of the best trainers out there. He has to be criticized as well because he wasn't really making any adjustments in the corner either. Now, on the other side, Virgil Hunter, who I think is the most overrated trainer, he wasn't doing anything either. He was telling Andre Ward he was winning every single round. He was a rah-rah man. He was in his ear. He was the mental guy. But the difference is Andre Ward did what he had to do. Andre Ward was the guy that made the adjustments in the ring and beat Kovalev. I mean, listen, you and I both had Andre Ward down by a point going into the final round of the fight. But the truth of the matter is that Kovalev let Andre Ward win that fight. He did not control it, and I think that he showed. He said one of the mistakes he made in the first fight was that he gave Andre Ward too much respect. And I'll tell you the truth, Sal, I think he gave him just as much, if not more, respect in this fight.
He did, Bill, and I'll tell you what, I think that Andre Ward hurt Kovalev early with a body shot. And, when you feel that, and you're in a fight and it's early, even though you feel you're going to dominate, you're going to do what you got to do to win, you're going to hit him, and you're going to land some great punches. You know what? If somebody hurts you early with a body shot, which I think Kovalev was, I think he felt the power in the body, and he was surprised. And so he had to have that in his mind to say, hey, well, you know what? I got to tighten up my defense. But like I said, whenever a fighter's afraid to give something up, he's going to be afraid to land something big. And I think that Kovalev got hit early in the body and was conscientious of that throughout the fight until inevitably that's what ended the fight.
Well, Sergey Kovalev's only chance of winning this fight was to really bully Andre Ward, get Andre Ward uncomfortable, and he failed to do it. He failed to do anything that he said he was going to do, and at the end result, Andre Ward looked pretty good. We will open up the phone line. Unfortunately, when you call in, we're going to take one caller, and Sal's going to get disconnected, but we'll get Sal back on. But 845-228-8710 is the call-in number if you got some thoughts, comments, questions, concerns on the rematch, Sergey Kovalev, Andre Ward. Give us a call now. And Sal, where does Kovalev go from here?
Well, unfortunately, Billy, what do I always say? I say a fighter is only as good as his last fight. So this is going to be the fight that people are going to have in their minds, and that the powers that may be are going to have in their minds. And Kovalev is a good fighter. He's a solid fighter. He's a hard-punching fighter, but he's got some holes in some areas, and he's going to sustain a level of opponents that are on the upper echelon. We know that. And depends on how much he wants to still stay in the game. I think he's going to have a big question he's going to ask himself tonight.
I think, he was saying that he wanted to end the career of Andre Ward. Well, I'll tell you, I think Andre Ward ended the career of Sergey Kovalev, to be honest with you. Because when you think about it, Sergey Kovalev, the mystique about Sergey Kovalev was his nickname, Crusher. People wanted to see him knocking other fighters out. He lost that mystique. He did. Andre Ward beat him 2 times in a row. Andre Ward is not known for a power puncher, even though he acts like he's one. He's not. And there's a lot of other fighters in line I don't think Sergey Kovalev is going to be the kind of fighter that's going to regress in terms of pay scale and level of opposition. I mean, maybe he gets a fight with Stevenson. Maybe Stevenson fights him rather than Ward, but I doubt it. I think Stevenson is going to avoid both Ward and Kovalev. I tell you the truth, the only fight that Kovalev would have right now to get him back in the mix at all is against Stevenson. And I think Stevenson is going to try to fight Ward. But then again, maybe Kovalev is easier for them to negotiate with. I don't know. What's your thoughts on Stevenson-Kovalev?
I think that's a great prospect of a fight that will materialize before a Stevenson Ward, and I'll tell you why. As I said, a fighter's only as good as his last fight. Why do you think there's so many people out there today that now say, "Hey, let me fight Triple G. Let me fight Triple G. Because of his last two fights, they were less than stellar for him. But it still does not mean the guy can't fight. The guy's a world champion. The guy's the best. And I think we're going to talk about that, but I think he'll beat Canelo Alvarez. But the bottom line is, Stevenson saw a couple chinks in the armor, and right now in his mind, he's going to say that Kovalev's a better opponent for him to fight, or an easier opponent for him to fight than Andre Ward. So I think that's a likely fight, and I think it would be a good fight, and I think it'll be one of the last opportunities that Sergey Kovalev will have to resurrect his career and get back whatever he can get.
Well, from logistically, and knowing that, I mean, when you look at this, Sergey Kovalev wants to make maximum dollars.
Absolutely.
He's got a promoter in main events who, puts on fights, but also is very workable in terms of dealing with. When you look at Adonis Stevenson, he's an Al Heyman fighter, but his promoter is a guy that's got venue in Canada. They have a deal and a good relationship with HBO, just like Main Events does. I think that you might end up seeing, even though Stevenson is Showtime with Al Heyman, one of the promoters up there is I wouldn't be surprised if you see Stevenson against Kovalev. I don't think.
I'm not surprised at all.
Yeah, I don't think you will see Stevenson against Ward. I just don't think that he'll fight Ward. Well, I don't think Ward will fight Stevenson, and the reason why is because Stevenson will want to have the fight in Canada, and I don't think Ward will fight in Canada. I think Ward will want to fight. At this point, Ward beating Kovalev twice in a row, I think that we've only yet begun to see the divaism of Andre Ward. I think Andre Ward now is going to say that he only wants a fight in his hometown of Oakland, which he still can't draw to. I think Daxx was right. He's not going to hurry up in that ring. He may not defend those titles for quite some time. And then because he's got multiple titles, he's going to be faced with mandatories that he's not going to want to fight, not because he's afraid, but because he's not going to make enough money. So I'm looking to see these sanctioning bodies that he just won or just retained start stripping him and split up the light heavyweight division again. And Sergey Kovalev could be in a position to win one or more of those belts back. But the fact still remains that Andre Ward beat Sergey Kovalev not once but twice, and the second time was a knockout. So I think that what Andre Ward has at least done was prove that he doesn't have to fight Kovalev again, regardless of the belts. One thing that Andre Ward has done here, Sal, is that he has shown that he's above the belts. And I'm not, like Alex made a reference to Floyd. Floyd showed he was above the belts. People still will watch Floyd whether he's got a belt or not. So I think Andre Ward walks out of here not only the winner of the fight, but I think he wins in several other aspects of his career. What do you think?
I think you're 100% right. And like I said, Andre Ward, his marquee value sustains and is increased in a sense. And he's not Mr. Excitement. He's not going to draw out too many fighters or fans to the game or to his fights. But that's up to the promoters to make that happen, number one. Number two, the guy did what he had to do to win. And the bottom line is, a win's a win, and he won in the most dominant fashion tonight. So I think that, and you want to know something? It's been over 6 months since they fought last. And you're not going to see Andre Ward fight for at least another 6 months. I promise you that.
Yeah, well, no, he's not fighting for another 6 months,
No.
and it's going to get a little confusing. Because
unless they strip him right away.
Well, yeah, they're gonna give they're gonna make him do a mandatory. They're gonna say you have to fight this guy, and it's gonna get messy. It's gonna get messy, And Stevenson's gonna still say he's the linear champ, and the light heavyweight division. I mean, young guy like Dimitri Bivol that we saw in the undercard. He's a guy that maybe we want to see more of. I mean, the biggest problem with all these sanctioning bodies is that we end up not seeing fighters that we really want to see because the champions get wrapped up in all these mandatories. It's counterproductive.
It is, Bill, and that's the politics of boxing, especially when you have multi-sanctioning bodies with their rules, regulations, and mandatories. So, as I said, the integrity of that whole arena is at question when they start stripping away the belts and start having the mandatories that are going to conflict whatever is going to happen. And it's just rhetoric, confusion, and like I said, Ray Mancini said it the best. There's only one world. Why can't there be one title? That's about it.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, there's one world and a gazillion titles and a gazillion sanctioning bodies. But anyway, if you're just joining us now and you didn't get a chance to see the pay-per-view card, basically the rundown, Luis Arias improved to 18-0 with 9 knockouts when he stopped Arif Magomedov at 1 minute and 16 seconds of round 5 via a TKO. Magomedov had hit the canvas earlier in the fight, and in the same round, actually, and the fight was over. Arias looked pretty good, and Magomedov, well, he didn't look too good. And the next undercard, Dimitri Bivol in the light heavyweight. He's an interim champion, but that belt wasn't on the line. He fought a guy that thought he was going to give, or a guy that many thought was going to give Bivol a test in Cedric Agnew. Only 2 losses on his career going into this fight. One was a shot at the championship. The other was a loss against Samuel Clarkson, which was kind of a controversial loss. But he didn't even fight. Dimitri Bivol controlled this guy, hurt him early on, and Cedric Agnew basically was just standing there. And Russell Mora finally waved it off at 1 minute and 27 seconds of the 4th round to give Bivol his 11th win and 9th knockout, mainly because Cedric Agnew wasn't fighting, wasn't defending himself, and Agnew loses for the 3rd time in his career. He drops to 29-3 with 15 knockouts in a strange but true fight. Guillermo Rigondeaux, as of this moment, anyway, and it could have already been changed, but as of this moment, Guillermo Rigondeaux was recorded his 18th win and his 12th knockout by knocking out Moises Flores at exactly 3 minutes and maybe 1 second of the very first round. It was controversial because the punch came after the bell, but Vic Draculich, who was the referee in that fight, had to summon the executive director of the Nevada State Athletic Commission, Bob Bennett, and basically go over this whole series of events with him before he could make a decision, which is his job to make a decision. And after inadvertently getting the information wrong from HBO, they ruled it, and he said had no doubt. Bob Bennett says he had no doubt that the punch came before the bell, therefore they ruled it a knockout. Well, then after he watched the video again, and after Jim Lampley and Max Kellerman told him that he was wrong, He said that he's going to go back and watch the tape, and if indeed the punch came after the bell, they were going to reverse the decision and call it a disqualification on Rigondeaux, which would give him a loss. Now, we saw that replay 100 times, and 100 times it's pretty easy to see that the bell rang and then the punch was landed. I personally don't think it should be a disqualification. I think it should be a no contest. But all in all, the Nevada State Athletic Commission has demonstrated that they're starting to really look terrible between that fight and the Jose Yu fight a couple of weeks prior, and then the announcement that they were sanctioning the fight between Mayweather and a pro debut in Conor McGregor really has me wondering about the credibility of the Nevada State Athletic Commission. And then finally, in the main event, the rematch between Andre Ward and Sergey Kovalev started out as a cat and mouse type of a fight, but ended at 2 minutes and 29 seconds of the 8th round when Tony Weeks stopped the fight due to Sergey Kovalev kind of crouched up, leaning against the ropes. Sergey did not argue the stoppage. A couple of body shots put him down and out for that one. As Sal and I mentioned earlier, we both had the identical scores of 66 to 67 in Kovalev's favor leading up to that. And Sal, I'll ask you this. Round 1, 2, and 3, I gave all of those to Kovalev. What did your scorecard say?
You know, it's funny you should say that. I tried to be objective. And with that being said, I wanted and I thought that Kovalev could have won that first round. I thought it could have been a draw. But just for the hell of it, and I'm going to say this, because I wanted to make sure if it went the distance and if there was going to be a similar decision, I said, well, I'll give that round to Andre Ward just for the heck of it to see at the end of the result if there's going to be additional rounds that he wins. It might push it over the top. So I gave that round to Andre Ward.
Which round?
By the slightest margin. The first round.
Oh, first round.
I thought it was very close. Very close. And I thought that Kovalev could have won that round by his effective jab and his out punching, I think, at some points. But I did see in that round that Andre Ward did land some decent counter shots and did enough, I think, to just squeak out that round. So I gave that round to Andre Ward. Then I had the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th to Sergey Kovalev. And then the 6th, the 7th, I gave to Andre Ward. And then ultimately the KO came in the 8th round. And, Bill, I didn't like the stoppage. And I wish that he had went down and they counted to 10 and it was over. I just that's the way I am, old school in a sense.
Well, I mean, the ropes were holding him up, and they should have, waving it off. I mean, Kovalev wasn't jumping up and down all pissed off either.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't.
But listen, he mentally was beat. He was physically tired. He talked smack and didn't back it up. As far as the scorecard, the way I saw it, and I had those first 3 rounds on my card, I wrote the word close, which when I write that, close means it could go either way. And, yes. I was disagreeing with Alex Pierpaoli's scorecard earlier, but he obviously went the opposite way. I scored rounds 1, 2, and 3, all for Kovalev. Then I scored rounds 4 and 5 for Ward. I scored round 6 for Kovalev. I had round 7 for Ward, which gave me a score of 66 for Ward, 67 for Kovalev going into the 8th round. That's where my scorecard was. Like I said, the first 3 rounds I thought could have went to either guy. So, I mean, if you pick Andre Ward, you got Andre Ward up by 3 points going into that final round. So, and that's what I think Alex had. So, I mean, hey, that's why boxing is subjective. And, we talk about this all the time. It was interesting to see the punch stats that Kovalev was was being favored in the punch stats, similar to the first fight. But then again, a punch that's landed is being scored by a human being that's subjective, saying, yeah, that one hit, and the guy next to him saying, no, it didn't. So until you take the human element out, we won't have true stats, but it's going to be interesting to see what transpires now for Andre Ward, what transpires now for Sergey Kovalev, and what happens with the Rigondeaux fight. And is the Nevada State Athletic Commission going to they got a lot of defending themselves coming up, especially with the Mayweather-McGregor fight. I mean, they got to be under criticism for that. I personally don't like the fight in any way, shape, or form. I just feel that that's a BS fight, and I don't think that. This isn't the right time to talk about it. We'll have plenty of discussion on that later on in the week when we come back. So, and speaking later on in the week, don't forget Sal and I and Dax and Alex and the rest of the crew do our show live Monday through Friday from 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern Time. So make sure you check it out. You can watch it right here on BillyCBoxing.com, or you can also check it out on a podcast. We also have our YouTube channel, which is YouTube/Talkin, TALKINBOXING. We're also been simulcasting. We've been experimenting on Facebook. So that's something that we've been playing around. I want to give a shout out to everybody that's watched us on Facebook. And we seem to have lost my man Sal, but we're going to try and get him back here one more time before we wrap it up. But make sure you check out the show, and also check your TV listings, man, because we're on a bunch of television networks now. They air the show different times. We're on radio stations throughout the U.S. and Canada, so check that out. And if all else fails, visit our website, www.BillyCBoxing.com, and link to our podcast and read the articles. We got writers and contributors from all over the U.S. and beyond. A couple of guys in England and thereabouts. So make sure you check that out and go from there, man. We're hoping that you guys will enjoy the show as much as we do. And we're constantly having great topics, and I think you'll like the show, man. So if you're new to it, if you're stumbling across this post-fight show, don't forget we air live Monday through Friday from 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern Time. I had Sal here, but we keep losing him. So listen, I'm going to wrap it up. I appreciate you guys stopping by and joining us today. So make sure you tune in. We're going to be off on Monday because Sal and I worked on some great projects that we're going to talk about. And we got some specials going on with an event we're doing. And we'll be talking about that early next week. So make sure you tune in on Tuesday, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Check out the show. Feel free to email me, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com. And I just got Sal back, just enough to say goodbye. Sal, what happened over there?
We had a power surge. The thing just, I thought it exploded. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I wondered what happened. But Sal, hey, I'm glad you got back because it's time for you to say goodbye. I was just telling everybody to make sure they tuned in on Tuesday. We won't be doing a live show Monday, but Tuesday, and we're going to have some announcements. We're going to tell people what we worked on all last week. We got a great getaway for everybody in August. And we are going to surround it, even though none of us are supportive of the Mayweather-McGregor fight. We are going to be doing something with it, but we're going to add some other stuff so we can all boo and hiss at the same time, but we'll have some fun doing some other stuff. And, Sal, I'm looking forward to that, my man.
Bill, let me tell you something. You and I had a great week this past week, and what we're planning for the end of August, unfortunately, we're doing it the weekend of the Mayweather-McGregor fight. And I say unfortunately just because I don't really approve of the whole fight. But it's going to be a stellar weekend, and we're going to have such a great time. And there's going to be a whole weekend full of events, and I think we're going to release all that stuff next week. So I will let you do those honors. And
we're going to start to release it on Tuesday. So
Tuesday?
Yeah, Tuesday. Oh no, we already got it in the works. If people go to the website, they'll see a link to the hub of everything that we're going to be doing, and we're also going to be releasing what our project that we worked on last week, because you guys are going to start to see that on a television channel near you. So stay tuned for that. You raising your hand? Go ahead, Cenicola. Make it quick.
Okay, I'll make it quick. Let me tell you something, Bill. I had such a great time with you down here this week. Besides the pizza, the pasta, and the food and everything else, and the music, and all the good times, and all the jokes, and everything else, you and I worked on some great projects that, I'll tell you what, I had a blast. And it's, like I said, just like growing up with the parlor talk.
Hey, you know what, Sal, what we did this weekend, and we watched this fight today, right? You know, it's like, everything everything we did last week, you watch your fight today, and you're like, oh, God. It's hard to, to tell you the truth, it was actually hard for me to watch, considering what we worked on last week, and like that was all like fresh in my mind, and I'm like, oh, whoa, this was what a bummer, it was we better quit while we're ahead. We'll tell everybody on Tuesday, but Sal, I appreciate you hanging out, and we'll be hooking up again on Tuesday morning, my man.
We'll look forward to it, Billy. Thank you so much, buddy, and you take care and have a good night. We'll talk to you Tuesday.
Sounds good. Hey, everybody else, listen, make sure you tune into the Billy C Show Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern Time, right here on BillyCBoxing.com. Check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/talkin, TALKINBOXING, or a television channel or radio station near you. Hey, man, I hope to see you Tuesday morning. Until then, ciao, baby.